Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fun-packed episode. I've been using my Land Rover now for a couple of weeks since I fixed the four-wheel drive, and it's still cold enough and slippery enough here to benefit from the four-wheel drive and the studded tyres. But the other day I was talking to a friend of mine and he said, so what's the heating like? So I said, I don't know, I've never tried the heating in this. So then he said, what do you mean you've never tried the heating in this? It's been brass monkeys for the last few months. Well, so I said, well, I normally do such short journeys that the engine doesn't really get warm enough to use the heating. So then he said, you're bloody crazy, mate. You must be freezing. Well, so then I said, yeah, you're right. Maybe I should test it to see if it works before it gets too warm. And that's kind of how the conversation went. Not exactly, but along those lines anyway. So what did I do? I was just leaving for work one late evening and I thought I would put the heater on. So in order to put the heater on in this old Land Rover, you have these two levers here. One is for the direction of the airflow, so up the top is defrost to get the airflow to your windscreen, and then you slide it down there and then it comes out from somewhere else, I don't know. So then this lever here, it faintly says on the top, if it's up the top it's cold, and then if you slide it down it's hot. So I tried to slide this bad boy down, but it's a little bit stiff, you know, so I thought I'd better investigate under the bonnet. So what did I discover? Well, you see this is a valve that allows water to warm water coolant to flow to the heater matrix. And so this, when you pull the lever or push down on the lever on the dashboard, this actually pulls this wire and this dial type thing turns and the valve redirects the warm water, and then therefore you get heat. So what I found when I had a look under here, and I'll put an insert video in now. You will notice that not only was this valve leaking from the top, so I think I must have disturbed it as it hadn't been used for such a long time, but I also noticed there was a dripping coming down from here. And I had left this running for a little while just to get the engine warmed up before I left, and as you can see underneath, that is a patch of diesel that had been leaking from this diesel injector pump. Now, it was actually leaking from the lever that is connected to your accelerator pedal. So it was just dripping out of there. So no wonder this has been costing me a fortune in diesel, because not only is diesel very expensive at the best of times, but if I'm leaking it on the floor, that's not good either. So when I got home, I had a good old shift in the old Land Rover manual, and lo and behold, one of the first pages was an exploded view of the accelerator pump. I also googled it and I found a thread on a forum where people had had similar problem, and it seems, and I'm hoping, that it's a fairly simple fix. So basically this here is the lever for when you put your foot on the accelerator. On this shaft there are actually two O-rings, and there are two shafts, so that's four O-rings. And over time rubber obviously goes hard and it cracks and it breaks. So I think these O-rings have perished, so I need to change those. So today I'm going to try and remove this section of the injector pump. Okay, so if we have a butcher's under the bonnet, you can see here, this is the cover that we need to remove, and this airbox is kind of in the way. So first thing I'm going to do is remove this airbox to give me better access. There, that's better. So when you put your foot on the accelerator, this will move like this, and this is the shaft that is leaking. And I've just noticed another leak there, look, from the top hose. This is turning out to be a brilliant day. So anyway, this cover needs to come off to be able to get to these O-rings. So I think I'll start by removing this cable, and then I think we undo these two nuts, and let's see what we're dealing with. Okay, on these diesel Land Rovers you have a lever by your feet, next to the accelerator pedal, that you can control the RPM, and I believe that is if you connect any farm machinery that you want to use the Land Rover to power a piece of machinery. So you have this RPM lever, and also you have the accelerator pedal. So I'm just going to go and move the lever first and see how that reacts on this, or what it actually does on the pump, and then I'm going to use the accelerator pedal and see what happens. And if you look over here, I don't know if you can see, there's a piece of wire kind of holding stuff together. Everything is a bit loose and wobbly, so I think I need to sort something out there. I just removed the pin that held this in to remove the cable. Okay, from what I saw on the thread on the forum is that you can leave this arm in place, and this is the one you need to take off to be able to take this cover off. This has also got a spring on there, so I guess you have to unhook that spring first, and then you take off these two nuts here, and then I think the whole thing should come off. It does say that there is a spring on the inside that is connected to a piece that has 3 holes, so you have to make note of which hole the spring is located in, because that affects the running of this. Okay, so here we are. There's about a cup full of diesel just squirted out of there when I took this off, and you can see there, that's the spring that they're talking about. So it's in the middle one of the 3 there, so I need to unhook that to be able to take this cover all the way off. Okay, so we have the bits now on the table. Looks pretty simple stuff. On the thread from the forum that I read, he said be very careful not to drop this bit. This is what the spring here connects into, and I was thinking, well, you should be more careful when taking it apart. So what did I do? Yeah, I dropped it onto the gravel, but luckily, because I've always been good at Where's Wally, I obviously found it immediately. But I believe there was a little spring that went on here as well, which I didn't find. So I think the only Wally here is if I look in the mirror. Well, that gave quite a fight to get off. I guess I should have checked to see if I have the correct size replacements. I guess I'm just not that smart. Come on. There we go. Cool, I found 4 new O-rings. The guy said on the forum also that you should put some grease on these. Okay, I just found the spring. How lucky is that? So in the manual apparently it says you put lithium grease on here, but I just have like this universal grease. And these actually do feel a lot more snug than the ones that were leaking. So I really do hope that this solves my problem. I don't see any reason to remove this though when you take this cover off. So I think you should only just take these 2 nuts off and take the whole thing off. Okay, so this is spring loaded. so I don't need to take it off. This cap has actually split. There we go. Yeah, let's change those as well. Okay, you can see they're actually just crumbled into pieces. So good job, I'm changing these. Okay, that's back together. I hope I put them in the right place. There is a seal or a gasket on the pump, which I don't have a replacement for, so I'm going to get the old famous silicone on here, maybe just a little bit, or the aviation sealer maybe. And there is also like these fiber washers on these nuts, so maybe I'll get a couple of fresh ones of those. There you go, just a little smear of silicone sealer on there, and don't go too crazy with it. So let's get this back on the car. Bit of a knob, I just forgot to put that spring back on there, so yeah, I put it back on, so now it's ready to go on the car. Right, we're in position. Beware that this thing can fall off, and it has, and that goes. Okay, it's really hard to film this, but there's a little slot up the back there where that goes. It kind of locks in there. Right, I need to get that spring in, so what I'm going to do is use some long nose pliers and get it back into that center hole. I probably won't film it because the camera's in my face. Okay, so there it is, it's back on. It was a bit of a struggle to get the spring back onto that middle hole. You basically have to lift up the pin with the little spring on from underneath the hole, and then I use small vice grips to clip onto the spring and then wiggle it on. I mean, if you are doing this job, you'll know exactly what I mean. So it was a bit of a pain. Also, the other thing was there's this shaped plate for the stop mechanism that cuts out the engine, and that keeps dropping down. But what I did is I smeared some grease on the other side of it, and so it's stuck to the back plate, so then you can line it up a bit better and get the cover on. Hard to explain, but I couldn't really film it as I was doing it because it's really tricky to get in there. But it's all together now, and I've started the engine and it doesn't leak, so that is good news. The second leak obviously I have is for this heater valve, but I think what I'm going to do for now is just eliminate it and put a piece of pipe there just to stop it leaking, because I've obviously disturbed it and now it just keeps constantly dripping. I actually just realized that this cable here had pushed all the way through, so it's actually pushing the valve past the point where it should be, so maybe that's what caused it to leak, because there was too much pressure on it. It shouldn't leak anyway, I know, but I just tightened the screw up a little bit, pulled that, took this clip off, pulled it back, and now if I move the lever, you can see it doesn't open fully, but that's enough to get the hot water flowing into the heater. So I'm going to give that a go. Okay, that's it for another episode. I hope this has been of some help to some of the people if you're having the same problem. It was a little bit hard for me to explain how to put that back together, but like I said, if you're doing it yourself, I think you can figure it out. So again, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and why not leave me a comment. It's getting a bit cold, so I'm going to take this for a test drive and then go home.